Hello my lovelies, I'm coming at you again today from Phnom Penh. Had a great time in Otras. I just spent 5 days by the beach where I used to live, just connecting with the earth. It was like thunderstorms every day, and if you've never been to Otras in Cambodia, it's just a beautiful little hippie town by the beach near kind of the islands of Koh Rong, Sanlom and Koh Ta Kiev. And yeah, it's still kind of rapidly developing, but I was there during off season, and it's very rainy at the moment, very thunderstormy, so you feel it's an interesting place to be, to kind of process things and just get some deep insights. So I don't know if you watched the last video that I posted on my channel, which was me channeling a message that I was receiving just from the cosmos. You can watch that video here. Yeah, just that whole idea, like, where does it come from when you talk about stuff? Like, is it your own mind or is it the mind of God? Considering that there is no separation between the creator and the creation, it's all the same thing. So anytime you create anything, every time you speak anything, it's all just coming from source. So yeah. Okay, yes. I've got my notes. Today is a requested video from my friend Bella Stone Gardner. Go follow this chick on Instagram, show her some Instagram love. She's a really lovely girl. I met her in Bali, and she requested that I make a video on soulmates. Now, this is quite an extensive topic, so I'm just going to kind of run through everything. Like with everything, just bear in mind, as humans, because our main modality of communication is speech, we tend to put words on things, we tend to put labels on things, whereas the nature of consciousness cannot be so distinctly and discreetly defined, if you understand what I mean. It's almost like these concepts are sometimes bigger than the labels that we give them, and sometimes as our understanding and our consciousness expands to include new understandings of things, we might need to relabel things. So if people disagree, that's okay. You're more than welcome to. Feel free to share your thoughts in the comment box below. Be respectful as always, and yeah, don't get offended, don't get your knickers in a twist. Okay, so once I've covered that, now we can move on to the video. So soulmates. Now, what is a soulmate basically? Like, to define a soulmate, a soulmate is basically somebody who you recognize. Now there may be an instant recognition, or it may be something that develops over time. It may be more just like when you meet them, there's a sense of familiarity, like you feel comfortable with this person, or sometimes there's magnetic attraction that you can't deny and you can't seem to avoid. Basically, it depends on the type of soulmate, but it will be either somebody who you recognize as almost having a missing part of you, or it will be somebody who you recognize almost from a past life. And I'll go on to kind of explain kind of soul streams and reincarnation and past lives as well. Now, the different types of soulmates, again, these categories are not distinct or discrete, but they can actually be, there can be multiple different, a soulmate can fit into multiple different categories. So there is the soul tribe, which is like a soul family, which is a group of souls who incarnate through multiple lifetimes together. They may all know each other in, one lifetime or several lifetimes, or they may only know a few. They may not be, these are not necessarily romantic partners. The whole idea of soulmates is not just about romantic partners. They could be your sister, or they could be your best friend, or they could be a parent. They could be a partner, a spouse, maybe somebody who you co-parent with. It could even be an animal, like your pet dog or something. And these people or beings will have been with you through multiple lifetimes, and you will have, they will be there to assist you in different parts of your life, different parts of your journey and your soul mission. Now, another type of soulmate is the karmic relationship. And this kind of relationship can also fit into the first category. This person can also be part of your soul tribe. But it tends to be the kind of relationship where you maybe have a contract with each other that you basically made before you incarnated into this physical body. And that might be some kind of karmic debt. But when I say karmic debt, I don't want you to misunderstand and say that it's kind of like you did something bad to them, so now you must be punished. That isn't how the universe works. It tends to be more that we're always trying to, as source experiencing ourselves, we're always trying to come to a greater understanding of everything, of truth. And that involves having multiple experiences. So if you have an experience in one lifetime where your wife betrays you or leaves you, for example, abandons you, maybe your wife abandons you and runs off with another man, you might make a soul contract or have a karmic relationship with this person in the next life to then abandon them so that they can understand how it feels, not to punish them, but so that both of your souls can have greater expansion through shared experience and understanding things from the other's perspective. And in that lifetime, that person might be your mother, or you might be that person's mother or father, for example, and you might abandon them as a child. So it's not always with romantic relationships that the soulmate, the karmic relationship plays out. Now, to kind of understand this, we have to understand the nature of what we are, because we're not just these physical flesh suits. We live in a holographic universe where everything is a fractal of everything else. Our particles are constantly colliding with one another. The particles that make up our physical and our subtle energy bodies are constantly colliding with other particles. I mean, they're particles, but they're also, they're not, they behave as particles, but they're actually the singularity of a wave, which is how we understand how everything is connected, because everything is just a wave with different frequencies. So there is no separation between me and the space next to me. It's all just energy moving through energy at a certain frequency. So when we understand this, when the particles collide with other particles, they exchange information of everything that particle's been through. So in that sense, we are holographic. So every single particle, you could go down to the smallest particle of anywhere in the universe, and you will find a hologram of everything in the whole universe. So basically, sometimes when you meet another person, you're basically recognizing a part of your own soul, because we are fractals of the greater whole. And to understand why you might be attracted to this person, because on some level, everybody is a part of our souls. If we imagine the nature of consciousness to be, let's take the Earth as a microcosm. So if we have the planet Earth as a microcosm of the whole universe, your soul stream or oversoul will be a tree. And then that tree will branch out into multiple different branches. And right at the end of the little twig, that's you. That's your physical body. That's me, Sana. I'm the little twig. Bella, you are the little twig. Everybody, we're all the little twig. When you meet another little twig that came from the same branch as you, you're like, oh my God, this is my soulmate. And there'll be other twigs on that branch, and they'll all be your soulmate. You can have different soulmates at different points in your life, but depending on where you are in your soul's journey at that time, there may be something that this person has that you need to integrate. So that's why we're often attracted to the shadow aspect of the other person. So you know the things about that person that you find really attractive, but in the end end up being the thing that you that caused the relationship to end. That's you integrating that shadow aspect of yourself, because we're all quantum. We're always trying to achieve wholeness and greater expansion through the reflections of the other. So other people act as mirrors of what we need to integrate in ourselves. So often when you get into a karmic relationship, that person is going to mirror back your childhood wounds and all the things, those shadow aspects of yourself that you haven't yet integrated. So if you haven't done the work on yourself, well, I mean, it's not even that you haven't done the work on yourself. You haven't yet done that particular work on yourself, and that's what that person is here to show you. They're here to show you those parts of yourself that you have disowned, that you don't love, and that by showing it up, bringing it up to the light of truth, you can then see that part of yourself and go, oh, that's where I need to love myself more. And when you've seen that, then often the relationship will dissolve. And I think this is where people get confused about the idea of soulmates, because they think, oh, that person is my soulmate, so therefore we're destined, we're meant to be, and we're supposed to be together. Don't get it twisted. That person might be your soulmate, but they're not necessarily supposed to be with you forever. They're supposed to show you something for that time in your life. And when you understand that we are fractals and we cycle through time, we're never the same from like 1 minute to the next. We're always changing. We're always exchanging energy with the atmosphere around us. So the food that you take in, not just the food, but just the prana, the life force from the sun, and from energy from other people that we're constantly taking in, become part of our own consciousness. Like the cells and the atoms and the molecules that make up what you are completely renewed every 7 years. So every 7 years, the you that is you is not even you that it was 7 years ago. Do you understand what I'm saying? So the point of attraction that attracted that particular aspect of your own soul a few years ago might not still be attracted to that person if you met them today, because you're not the same person anymore. You're now different. You've now integrated new parts of yourself. So that's where a lot of people get confused about it. Now, just briefly, I'm going to touch on the idea of twin flames, although I find that this term can also be problematic, because I think that there's a lot of misunderstanding around this, and I also don't fully understand this concept myself, because I haven't experienced the twin flame union. I've experienced something that felt like I met somebody and there were a lot of synchronicities around it, but the twin flame is what we call twin flame is supposed to be, if you imagine, go back to those twigs on the tree, it's those last two that split off, those last two twigs. And this is where I disagree with some people. I don't think it's always going to split off in just two. I think sometimes there might be more than one. I think sometimes for a soul's journey, they might have a lot to learn in one lifetime. So they might incarnate as multiple beings on the planet at the same time. And I don't think that they necessarily always split off into masculine and feminine polarity. Sometimes you might even incarnate as a dog. But that's just, what my research has told me and my experience has told me as well. I welcome you all to kind of study this yourself and share your own experiences on this as well. And to explain it another way, it's not like when we think about our soul and when we think about reincarnation, we think of it like, oh, in a past life I was Nefertiti, or in a past life I was my grandmother. It's not like the entire soul of your grandmother or of Nefertiti goes into the next life, and then that whole soul goes into the next life, and that one goes into the next life. It doesn't work like that. We're quantum, right? So if you imagine when you die, where do we go when we die? Just our physical body. If you imagine your physical body when you die, let's say you get buried or you get cremated, the organic matter and the energy that made up your body goes into the earth. Let's forget about the prana, the life force, which has a certain weight because they've measured it, and it leaves the body when you die. That goes somewhere. That's definitely your essence, and we can kind of discuss that separately. But if you talk about everything else that makes you up, it kind of goes into the earth and it becomes part of everything. It becomes part of the soil, and it goes, and the worms eat it, and flies, and it decomposes, and it becomes part of a tree. So we essentially don't just reincarnate into another person. We become part of everything. We become part of the trees and the earth, and then so we basically we break into fractals, and we kind of go everywhere. So in that sense, when you do a past life regression, you don't just go back to the one previous lifetime where you were your grandmother or whatever. You could go back to any lifetime that, there could be multiple lifetimes that exist in multiple different, again, our understanding of time is very rudimentary because time is not linear either. But you could have been, in a past life, you could have been a tree, a flower, a worm, the wind, a dog, and your grandma. Do you understand what I mean? So when you see yourself in another, or not just yourself, or maybe you just recognize an aspect of that person's soul that you'd met before, it could be that was your dog. Do you understand? Like it's not as simple as we've been led to believe. So yeah, I think I've covered everything. But if you have any questions and you want to discuss it further, then put your comments in the comment box below, and I might make a part 2 video on this, because this whole idea of attracting different people at different points in your lives for the purpose of integrating and healing and getting closer to the wholeness of who you are and who you're supposed to be is very, very interesting, especially when we're talking about opposing sort of masculine and feminine energies. I encourage you all to leave your comments. Okay, anyway guys, thanks for watching, and I will see you in the next video. One love.
You're introduced to LSD, and unless you've taken some other drug, like for instance, like marijuana or something,